Hello everybody and welcome back to more political chatter. In this video we will be talking about my updated election prediction between incumbent President Joe Biden and Republican Ron DeSantis. So Ron DeSantis is very much expected to announce a presidential run in the Republican primary. Do I believe he would win the Republican nomination? No, I do believe Trump would crush DeSantis in the primary, and current polling is pointing towards that outcome as well. But he would be, according to polls, he would be the strongest challenger to Trump in the Republican nomination. So let's say he does win, and he is matched up with Joe Biden in the general election. So with all that being said, let's get into this election map. So we'll start off with safe states that will be decided by a 15% margin or higher for the candidate. So safe states for Joe Biden: Hawaii, California, Oregon, Washington, and D.C., Maryland, Delaware, New York, Rhode Island, Massachusetts, Vermont, and Maine's first, and probably Illinois. One thing to point out here is that my prediction for this has changed drastically over time. I mean, at one point I thought Ron DeSantis would really kind of crush Biden in a general election. I used to think that Ron DeSantis was a very strong candidate, but my opinion on that really has changed. Even though he won by 20% in Florida, that does not necessarily mean he will win the key voters that Trump won in 2016, which allowed him to win the presidency. You know, white working class voters who had voted for Obama. Now we will give Ron DeSantis his safe states: Utah, Wyoming, Idaho, Montana, North Dakota, South Dakota, Nebraska, large, West, Nebraska's third. Oklahoma, Kansas would go back to a safe state. Louisiana, Arkansas, Missouri, Mississippi, Alabama, Tennessee, Kentucky, Indiana, West Virginia. South Carolina might become safe, but at this point I won't make it safe. So that puts Joe Biden at 160 electoral votes, Ron DeSantis at 113. So Biden does have an advantage early on, but yeah, whatever. So now we will get into our likely states. So these states, I believe, would be decided by a 5 to 15% margin, starting with Joe Biden. So there are, let's say, 3 very Democratic states that would be right below that 15% mark. What was I saying? So yeah, there'd be like 14-point wins for Biden. So that's Colorado, and Ron DeSantis would do, like he would improve in the suburbs from Trump. So New Jersey and Connecticut, I believe, would be likely, as they were for Hillary in 2016. Other very Democratic states that wouldn't quite be safe and aren't traditionally safe: New Mexico, Maine at large. I guess that's it. I mean, yeah, right? Okay. And then, so there is also Virginia. I think that yeah, no, I won't have Virginia as likely, actually, right now. So, yeah. Alright, I think that might be it for Biden. I mean, Minnesota is really tough. I mean, that's like, a 5-point win. Do we call it likely, or do we call it lean? It's going to be right on that verge. I mean, looking at Biden's performance, and Donald Trump does do well with the white working class voters. There are a ton in Minnesota. I guess Minnesota is likely for Joe Biden. Ron DeSantis wouldn't do all that well there. Now we have our likely states for Ron DeSantis. Oh, geez, I might have forgotten a safe state, that being Florida. But then again, voter turnout was abysmal. I mean, it's like abysmal basically in all midterm election states. But in 2022 it really was in Florida, because Democrats were not encouraged to vote for Charlie Crist. I mean, they will be a little more encouraged to vote for Biden, I guess, but still won't be that close. But it won't be safe. Florida, I think, goes to DeSantis, his home state, where he governs, by a likely margin. As I said, South Carolina could very well be safe. That's going to be a likely margin win for him. And looking at Ohio, even though Ron DeSantis, and Iowa for that matter, even though Ron DeSantis won't appeal to white working class voters quite as much as Trump did, Trump did make these two states very Republican. He made them so much more partisan. Iowa and Ohio, I think, both go to Ron DeSantis by a likely margin. So Texas, Ron DeSantis would do well in. It is a Sun Belt state. He would do better than Trump. He would definitely do better than 5.6% margin. So that's definitely a likely margin tip for him. He would turn out the Latinos who are trending to the Republicans in such high numbers lately. So Texas definitely would go to DeSantis by likely margin. Alaska, a very Republican state, would go to him by likely margin. And I suppose that's it. Now we have lean states. So after likely states, actually, Ron DeSantis has taken the lead. 2 big wins in Florida and Texas. That's 70 electoral votes alone. So Ron DeSantis now has 218 electoral votes. Joe Biden has 208. So this will be a very close election, I believe. Now let's get into lean states. So lean states are states that will be decided by a 1 to 5% margin, starting with Joe Biden. New Hampshire. I mean, DeSantis would make this a lot closer than it was in 2020. Don't get me wrong. I mean, Trump really, lost his base there. I mean, Joe Biden running a campaign as a moderate in a lot of these states really won him a lot of votes in a state like New Hampshire. So Ron DeSantis would do a lot better than Trump, saying that he will be at least seen as much less extreme than Trump. But regardless, Democrats do continue to win in New Hampshire. They perform very well in the midterms, so I feel that they will be able to win New Hampshire once again. Virginia is a lean state for Biden. This one very well could be a likely state, but I think that Biden wins it just because of how democratic it is. But DeSantis definitely does do better than Trump. I mean, looking at Glenn Youngkin's performance in the gubernatorial election, I think that Ron DeSantis really would kind of bring back that Youngkin campaign in a state like Virginia, win a lot of moderate voters. But then again, just like in the 2022 midterms in Florida, there wasn't as high as turnout in the gubernatorial election. Republicans were much more encouraged to vote than Democrats, so therefore more Democrats will come out for Biden in 2024. So another lean state I have for Joe Biden is the state of Michigan. As I have said a couple of times, I don't think that Ron DeSantis would do well with the white working class voters that Trump won in the blue wall in the Rust Belt in 2016. And that voter bloc allowed him to win the presidency, right? That is how he won, with the blue wall. Without it, he would have lost. And Ron DeSantis, coming from the state of Florida, not quite the same personality, not necessarily policies, but just how Trump spoke really resonated with these voters. Ron DeSantis doesn't have that. That goes for all these states, Minnesota, Wisconsin, Michigan, and Pennsylvania. So Ron DeSantis will definitely have a very hard time in this blue wall. Where do we go next? Arizona's tough. A lot of these states, I'm telling you guys, are very tough. Let's go into lean states for Ron DeSantis. Maine second, DeSantis wouldn't do quite as well, and Trump had a special appeal here, but it did become much more Republican since Trump. So I think that DeSantis does carry Maine second by a small margin. North Carolina, if not lean, then likely. Republicans continue to win here. Ted Budd won the Senate election here by 3 or 4% last year. So that's the only reason why it's not likely. But Ron DeSantis, coming from the Sun Belt, will have no hard time winning North Carolina. Trump won it in 2020 and 2016. He will win it. Okay, so this is where it gets very tough. I think that's going to be it for lean states, and amazingly, we have 5 tilt states and a tilt district, which, I mean, is very unlikely. But at this point, I'm thinking that these states would just be so close and they're so hard to call that that I think that they would be tilt in this, right now. So Joe Biden currently has 240 electoral votes. He needs 30 more to win. Ron DeSantis has 235. He needs 35 more to win. So let's get into tilt states, I guess, we'll go back and forth, actually. So, first of all, the least important is Nebraska's 2nd district. I think that goes by tilt margin to Joe Biden. This one was really close in 2016. Trump won it, and then in 2020, Biden won it back. So, I don't know. It's always a close one. But I think Biden very narrowly wins it. Okay. Let's do something here. Okay, let's start with Nevada. You know what? Nevada, I think, goes to DeSantis by tilt margin. If not, I'm changing it to lean, so we only have 4 tilt states. So DeSantis, I think, wins Nevada by lean margin, like 1 to 2%. He fits, the voting bloc very well here, and he would turn out Latino voters. This is part of the Sun Belt. Ron DeSantis would have very much an appeal here, and continue that trend of Hispanic voters to the Republican Party. So now we're on to actual tilt states, and now DeSantis and Biden are tied. Arizona is very, very tough, but I think that Ron DeSantis just narrowly takes back the state of Arizona, and that'd be a huge win for him. This is a pickup for the Republicans. Of course, it's been said so many times, this is the state of traditional Republicans, and they have learned their lesson. Looking at ideology, Ron DeSantis is probably more conservative than Donald Trump, but at least he isn't going out here, saying that John McCain is a loser, that he is not a war hero. So just because of that, I think that there are enough Democratic votes in Arizona for Republicans to win. The issue with Republicans lately is that they have just been running horrible candidates. Donald Trump was the presidential nominee in 2020. Then we have Carrie Lake, Blake Masters, Senate and gubernatorial candidates. They are just such horrible candidates. But anyway, moving on. Let's go to Pennsylvania. I think that Joe Biden wins the all-important state of Pennsylvania by a tilt margin. He won it by like 3 points, I believe, in 2020. But Democrats performed very well here in 2022. You know the deal. So, whatever. But yeah, again, I already explained this with the blue wall. White working class voters, I feel that Ron DeSantis won't be able to turn them out. I just don't believe that he will. And I think that will cost him very much in the end, and that it will lose him the election. What? Did I give a spoiler? Whoops. Georgia, I think, goes to Ron DeSantis by a tilt margin. So this is one that Biden flipped in 2020. I think that DeSantis flips back in 2024. But looking at Georgia, in 2022, Brian Kemp was a traditional conservative. He won by 7. Brad Raffensperger for Secretary of State is very much a traditional conservative. I met him, by the way. Won by 8. And then Herschel Walker, the Senate candidate, who is a Trump-backed, Republican, lost by 2 in the runoff. So, Trump candidates don't do well here. More traditional Republicans do. I think that Ron DeSantis is more of a traditional conservative, or not more, but enough of a traditional conservative for him to win. So it all comes down to Wisconsin. It's 268 to 260. Either candidate wins Wisconsin, they win the election. And as I explained before, I feel that Ron DeSantis won't be able to turn out the white working class voters that Trump was able to in 2020 and 2016. I feel that Joe Biden wins the state of Wisconsin for that reason. So, by 2 electoral votes, I believe that Joe Biden will win an incredibly close election. I think that he very narrowly tops Ron DeSantis in the general election, but obviously we're still so far, and who knows what can happen in this time. So thank you all for watching this video. Make sure to subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. That would mean a lot to me. I hope you all enjoyed, and I will see you all next time.